¿Qué pasó, mi gente? It's Mark Tip 25 otra vez. Welcome to another episode of El Chuco Sportscast. I'm Mark, and this is mi hermano Mario. ¿Qué pasó, güey?
Nada más, bro. Tranquilo, bro.
Tranquilo?
Everything's
Okay,
good.
bueno, dude. Yeah, last time we were on this podcast, you all saw a pretty bad side of me. You all saw my mocos because I
Oh,
sneezed and it all came out. So, yeah, that was kind of an embarrassing moment for me, pero ni modo. It is what it is. I was getting over a sinus infection. I'm still like taking some antibiotics just to make certain it stays at bay and it goes away. So, andale pues. Let's get started. We have quite a few things to talk about. Um, First off, we're going to talk a little bit about the Mavs game that's currently on right now. So I'm going to share the screen real quick. Let's see, share the screen. A ver. Okay, so right now that shows it on the Brooklyn Nets. So let me see the Mavs game. Okay, so right now, as it stands, it is currently the fourth quarter with 9 minutes and 21 seconds left, with the Mavericks up by 8. Ooh, I mean, they were leading by a good margin. Hopefully, they maintain it because it's gonna suck. And again, this is nothing against the Spurs. As you can see, the Spurs have been doing really well. You can never count out a team that's coached by Greg Popovich. The man's a fucking legend. So let's kind of just see the statistics real quick. Whoops, players. No, what the hell? It's not. Oops. Sorry about the technical difficulties. This is kind of acting a little strange. Hold on, let me go back here. Let's see. Will it not give me the stats right off the bat? Okay, well, it's not giving me the stats, but as you can see, in the first quarter, the Mavericks got up to a hot start, but the Spurs kind of kept with them. Mavericks kind of were still hot within the second quarter. The third quarter, the the Spurs kind of made it a narrow gap. And then right now, the Spurs are kind of leading in points right now. We'll see how that pans out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my ESPN app. Sorry for the weird technical difficulties. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, this won't fucking matter. But if you're watching on YouTube, it will. So as far as the statistics for the Mavericks right now, we got Kristaps Porzingis shooting 7 for 13 with 19 points, with 6 rebounds and assists, with 2 personal fouls. He's shooting 3 for 4, so 75% from 3-point range, which is pretty damn good. He's got a couple of blocks and a steal. Hardaway, he's shooting okay. I mean, it's not spectacular, but he's doing well. I mean, they have the same amount of points. Him and Kristaps both have 19. Brunson's doing pretty well with 11 points and his 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Actually, I mean, he has a turnover here. Then Luka, of course, is the high point man right now with pretty much 30 points. Oh, the Mavericks just scored again. He has 30 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds, about to get another triple-double. He's 4 for 10 from 3-point range. 40% is not bad. It's above league average, obviously. And James Johnson has 4 points. I mean, I'm not expecting him to score high margins, but he's not seemingly doing much on the defensive end, which is I was hoping he would do a little bit better. Iwundu hasn't scored anything. Willie Cauley-Stein, he's doing okay. He's 3 for 4 overall. Trey Burke, 4 for 8, 2 for 4, so 50% from 3-point range. So there's not much as far as defense right now. I mean, the only players that have a good defensive game are Green and Kristaps right now. They both have a steal each. And Josh Green, he's a rookie, so I'm not expecting anything spectacular right now. But I mean, he does have 6 rebounds, so he's at least putting in work on the glass. So that's a good thing to see right there. And then as far as the Spurs, let's kind of talk about them a bit. We got DeMar DeRozan with 17 points. Of course, he doesn't really shoot many threes. He's 6 for 14. Johnson is 13 points with 10 rebounds. Wow, that's good rebounding numbers. So double-double. He's 0 for 3, though. LaMarcus Aldridge is playing pretty well with 20 points, 2 assists and 7 rebounds, 4 for 7 from 3-point range. That's pretty damn nice. 8 for 15 overall. Murray he only played 1 minute. I'm wondering if he got injured, so I might have to look into that. I don't know what happened with him, but it seems like he's not playing right now. So then Lonnie Walker with 9 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. decent shooting splits. I mean, not spectacular, but okay. Rudy Gay has 13 points from the bench, 2 for 3 from 3-point range, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Jakob Pertl, he only has like 1 basket. Patty Mills also has 13 off the bench, 5 for 11, 1 for 3 from 3-point range though. Has a steal and 2 assists and a rebound. Tyus Jones, I believe. I think he's just got a few minutes. He only has 2 minutes. Then Vassell, I apologize if I mispronounced his name. 5 points on pretty much 1 3-pointer, 2 free throws, 2 assists, and 3 rebounds. So right now, and the Spurs just scored again, so it's now 94 to 102. So overall, it seems like the Mavericks are playing a pretty balanced game for the most part. Again, there's still like at least a good amount left in the fourth quarter. And a lot of times the Mavericks have really faltered as far as like defensive situations near the end. But we'll see what happens. Maybe, I mean, they have been better overall. They have been better overall defensively this year. So I don't know. What do you think about the whole situation with this game thus far?
I mean, as long as they can keep the Spurs at bay, I know they haven't been good in recent years. Ever since several pieces left, but they're still dangerous because their coach is one of the best in the league,
Oh,
most
probably
winningest
even all time.
coach.
Yeah.
Well, that's still debatable, but as far as active coaches,
Are you talking about
yeah, I
Popovich?
could say as far.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all time, dude. Popovich is a hell of a coach.
I know, but I still think there's other coaches out there that you can rank, that you can
I know,
compete
but
with
I'm
them.
saying
That's what I mean.
currently, right now, eh,
Yeah,
and
that's
as
what I
far
said.
as
That's why I said
and
active.
but
I know that's why I said active coaches.
yeah, but even all
That's why I
time,
said
he's
active
he's
coaches.
one of the tops.
Yeah, so he knows how to run a team, no matter how few pieces he's got. So he can. I know he can do. So it's always good to be wary of San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, despite being at 500, they're still learning, and that's all I can hope for is that they continue to learn and grow and be competitors for when the playoffs roll around. Which,
And granted, they have struggled this year since they have been missing quite a few of their pieces here and there because of COVID restrictions. They had to kind of have some players sit out. Josh Richardson hasn't been playing, and I think Brunson barely just came back from COVID restrictions. So there's just a few people we're missing. But overall, the Mavericks, I think, still have a lot to work on, but they're getting better. And now the fact that they have KP back, it really, really helps them on the offense.
oh
So,
yeah,
and even on the defensive end, because he's a good rim protector, I think. So it's good to have him back.
of course,
All righty. So
and of
then,
course,
yeah, I mean, as far as the Spurs, I mean, despite what may have befallen them, they're still putting up a decent fight in the league. I mean, they're still maintaining. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs last year, and who knows if later on down the line they within the season they make it. But they're at least playing really good basketball right now. So that's at least something to behold for the Spurs. And again, I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm a Mavs fan, and I've always disliked the Spurs. I mean, but I've always respected Popovich and I've always respected Duncan, except for the one time Popovich made that statement about, oh my God, what's his fucking name? Zaza Pachulia. It's like comparing
oh,
his freak mistake, freak accident to manslaughter. That was the only thing that was a little weird for me when he did that. And look, granted, yes, a lot of people have a lot of negative views on Zaza Pachulia. They think he's a goon. They think he purposely injured Kawhi. I don't know personally, and a lot of people are going to disagree, but this is just my opinion. I don't think he intentionally meant to hurt Kawhi. And you could say, oh, what about these other videos where he's gotten in fights? Half of those videos I've seen, a lot of people actually were attacking Zaza before he got in there on them. So I don't know. You could take it as you will. I don't think Zaza is as bad of a person as people make him out to be. He is clumsy, that I will admit, but I don't think he's a goon or he has malintent. I mean, and the guy's retired, so he doesn't even fucking matter. But that's the only thing I had against Popovich, and it was just that one thing. Otherwise, he's an amazing coach.
could have
And
been
then
just an.
Carlisle right now, I mean, I had a discussion, and I'll talk about this application later that I've stumbled upon. But yeah, I had a slight conversation about Rick Carlisle, and Rick Carlisle, he's a good coach, but he's kind of gone down over the years, and I just think some of his schemes, I don't know, sometimes they just don't work. I mean, right now they're doing okay, so I'm at least gonna give Rick Carlisle the benefit of the doubt. But there's a lot of, I mean, and he does make certain adjustments, but last year he was just really all over the place with his adjustments. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. And it could be just the fact that this team doesn't have good enough personnel, which I don't know. I think they have enough potential and talent. They just need to utilize it better.
Well,
But
I
that
think it's also maybe because COVID hit us all pretty hard, and it wasn't a normal, continuation of the season last season. That maybe he was trying to figure out. Maybe he was trying to figure out the right rotation without compromising, the player's health. That could be that could have been an issue, or like I said, there's always, you never know what's going on. And the coach has said he's trying to figure out what will work. There's always other factors. I'm just shooting one out there, but I mean, I know he's capable. We've seen him in action, doing some great things. Could he have become complacent? Maybe, since he's been in Dallas for I don't
almost a
know how
deck,
long now,
pretty much a decade at this point.
almost 15 years, which is
Oh, I don't think
impressive
it was with. Let's
for.
see, 15. Because he came in 2008. That I do remember. So 12, maybe
Okay,
13
so it's been
years.
about 13 years. All right, and that's pretty long. I mean, the only other coach that was there longer was their very first coach, Don Nelson, and
Well, not their very
he did what he
first. I
could.
mean, but like the coach
Well,
within the
second.
2000s. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was there for quite a while, and it started to go downhill. Maybe he got complacent, and it seems like maybe the same thing is going on with Carlo. I hope not, but I know he's capable. He's a so but things happen, so we'll see.
Well, I think with Nelson, I think Nelson had some health issues, and he also got complacent because they traded away Nash. So that was just another whole ordeal. I mean, and of course, Cuban admits that's a huge mistake that he made. And also, I had another conversation about Steve Nash that I'll get to a little later. But right now, yeah, that's what's looking like this far. Right now, the score has been updated to 113 and 104. The Mavericks are leading with 4:26 left in the game. Luka right now has 34, and again is one rebound shy of another triple double. He is just a triple double machine, man. He's killing it, and that's the thing. Like I have a lot of high hopes for Luka. I mean, hopefully his three improves, and it's starting to, but it's just I just wish sometimes he wouldn't take the step back so often. I mean, if he has no other choice, I guess that's one thing, but there's a lot of other times there he doesn't need to take that shot, and he just does it. So I don't know, and it'll come with time and overall just maturity.
Yeah,
I mean, and
that's
it's
all
it
we
because
can hope.
when it does fall, it's an amazing shot. But when it doesn't fall, it just looks reckless, for lack of a better term.
That's all we can hope for is that he improves through time. That's how you learn,
Yeah,
by
and I
doing.
have he has a lot of talent and a lot of potential. I mean, except I mean this year there were a lot of high expectations for him to be MVP. And again, it's still kind of early. Maybe there's a chance he completely turns it around and just completely wrecks the league and gets MVP. But I don't know. It's just right now the way he started was a little bit off. And again, there was a lot of players that started off, but then there were a lot of players that started really well, like Trae Young. Trae Young was started off really well, and then he had another snag of his own, and now he's back to shooting like 30 points, 40 points in a game. And again, I'm gonna have another conversation about Trae Young later in the podcast. It kind of involves Steve Nash and Trae Young. Some of you probably already know about that. But here's the thing. So right now, another big situation, and because we'll get back to the whole Mavericks thing once it's over, once the game ends. It's currently updated to 113 and 107, so it's a 6-point game. So let's kind of talk about another NBA team, the Nets. So the Nets, we all know the big situation about James Harden getting traded to the Nets, and now he's with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. So we have another big three. The thing is, however, it's just one of those things that we don't quite know where it's going to completely end up, because as of late, these first two games, they haven't really come out very well. So as you can see, they've recently lost this last game to the Cavaliers, 125 to 113. Granted, they didn't have Kevin Durant. And yes, we could all say that, oh, well, they have Kyrie and James Harden, and that should be enough, and blah blah blah. And yeah, you're right. I do agree. That should be a team that doesn't need that. And I'll get to some of those concerns in a minute. Because in the previous game, it was their debut, right? They all three of them played. Um, the thing is, they lost in double overtime to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They lost 147 to, I think it was 125 or 132. It was something ridiculous. Like both teams had a high scoring game. KD put up like 34, Kyrie had 33, James Harden had 21 of his own, and with like 21-point triple double. So this is a very high powered offense nonetheless. The main issues become their defense. And a lot of NBA YouTubers and just people in general have been talking in the sports community about the main issues with this team is being their defense. However, it is two games, and we really cannot take full stock into two games. And like there's a lot of different scenarios being played out with this, because the whole thing with James Harden being traded, he kind of things did not end well with him in Houston, and he finally got traded. Kyrie has been kind of absent and has been aloof, for lack of a better term. And a lot of people have in recent years been really complaining about Kyrie being that sort of person that just seems, and I'm not going to say a locker room cancer, because I don't think he's really that, but I do think he is a little bit eccentric in the fact that he has very interesting beliefs. I mean, but granted, like off the court, he's a very good individual. He's raised a lot of money for a lot of amazing causes. However, the thing is with basketball, I mean, with these players, this is their job. This is what they come in to do work with. This is their priority. I understand maybe now the culture has changed where it's like, well, they have the privilege to do all this other stuff with their lives besides basketball, that they don't need to specifically focus on basketball. But I don't know. If you're trying to be a part of a sports league that is geared, like a team that's geared toward trying to win championships, this should be your priority. But I digress on that, because I really don't want to get too much into that, because again, I really respect Kyrie as a player. There's certain things I don't agree with as far as his mentality in certain regards, but he is still an amazing player. And as we saw last night, and I think I don't know what the stats are for the Nets game. Let me pull that up real quick. Let's see. So with Kyrie, and see, that was another thing with the Cavaliers. Colin Sexton has really shown up. And see, look, Kyrie put up 38 points, 4 for 9 from 3-point range. Like he's an amazing player. We cannot deny that. He's gonna give you buckets. He may be a liability defensively sometimes, but he's still an amazing offensive player. Harden, he was 4 for 9 from three. He didn't score as much. He had 19 points overall, but overall, still an amazing player. These are really good players, and I feel once they get into the swing of things, they're gonna be unstoppable. Granted, you could say again, well, their defensive pieces and their depth. I think over time they're gonna find a way around that. Because if the 2011 Miami Heat were able to do that, then they can do it. It's it's really not a question of how; it's a question of when. But overall, that's my opinion on the Nets. I think we are really blowing this out of proportion. However, I will admit it will become alarming if they lose the next 5 straight. Now, what happens if that does occur? So now maybe you do consider moving one of those pieces for depth, for more depth in defensive players. At that point, the odd man out does become Kyrie, because there's already a lack of trust in Kyrie being dependable. So that he would be the piece that gets moved if this doesn't end up panning out, which again, I don't believe that happens. But if it does, that would be interesting. And a lot of people say, well, if he gets traded, he might retire. And I don't think Kyrie may be a little bit peculiar, but I don't think he is soft in that regard. I think he has a stronger mentality when it comes to being competitive. So I don't think that would be the case. I think a lot of people are blowing that way out of proportion. If he does get traded, where would he go? Um, there's this guy that's on B Souls's Keep It a Bug podcast. He's 1/4, and there's quite a few other guys. One named Domo Churchill, I believe. He uh he stated that the Knicks could be a possibility. I mean, the Knicks are willing to throw pretty much anything at this point. I mean, if I was the Knicks, fuck, I'd make that trade. But the thing is, I don't necessarily agree with the pieces he would that the Knicks would give up. I mean, I don't think they would give up Randall per se. They probably would give up Mitchell Robinson, Frank Ntilikina, maybe a couple of other players to sweeten the deal. I mean, I don't know. Like a small part of me wants Dennis Smith Jr. moved so he can flourish and revive his career again because I really do feel for Dennis Smith Jr. Um, but yeah, that that would be an interesting idea. Someone even mentioned, imagine the irony of Kyrie being traded back to the Cavaliers. Oh man, that would be something, huh? Finally gets what he wants. The team, the Cavaliers to himself, like he wanted from the beginning. I don't know. I don't know. But I don't foresee that. What do you think of that situation, considering what I've just stated and
I
what
just
has
think,
been stated about this?
I mean, I think people need to not worry about things that are irrelevant to basketball. I mean, what is his business is his business. Dude, leave the guy alone. Okay, so you don't agree with him with what he believes or says, that's still his right. And then you should respect that. I mean, come on now. I think people are getting petty about things that are unimportant. Yes, I agree. He's a very talented and very good player. I respect him that. And look, I may not agree with him either, but I respect his right to believe what he wants or says what he wants because that is his right as a citizen. So yeah, look, and also the thing with okay, so Harden went came to join him in Brooklyn. So you lost 2 games. It's only 2 games. That really doesn't say much. Now, if he loses more than that, if the streak continues, like you said, then we can. Then that begs the question, who is the right pieces to keep and who is not. Um, I mean, this whole thing, like you said, I think people blow it out of proportion. He is capable. We've seen it. He's a championship player. So, I mean, maybe with the sportsmanship and team playing with Harden coming along, hopefully that will help. But we'll see. It sucks that it didn't work out with Harden in Houston. I have a feeling that maybe that could have been because of Westbrook. I don't know, but it just seems like every team that Westbrook has been with is all, like another big time player that he plays with seems to like leave when just after he comes. I don't know what it is, man, but
And what's funny is also I had we had a huge discussion about Westbrook too, on the thing I'm about to mention later on. But yeah, Westbrook is just here's the thing. He is a very hard personality to deal with, but he's a grown man, and at the end of the day, he has to adjust himself.
well, of course.
Coaches can only do so much. I mean, granted, yes, there's some coaching things that some coaches could have done, but I think ultimately he has to adjust himself.
Yeah,
And because if nobody else is going to be able to adjust him, he's the only one that can. And
well, that's it, man. I mean, he's gonna have to want to adjust, has to want to change for the better if he's gonna be a team player, a true team player on a team, and it just doesn't work that way. You being like like I said before, and everyone, the whole saying holds true. It's like there's no I in team, and if you think that you can do it all, you're in the wrong sport, man.
And he is extremely talented. Don't get me wrong. He's extremely talented. But I think, and we've discussed this before, and I don't know, maybe whoever sees this might disagree with me. I think he just, again, he puts too much on his shoulders, and he becomes, it's tunnel vision. He has to carry the team. And he doesn't need to. He has other players, teammates he can defer to. I understand the first time without KD was hard, and maybe that's what he had to do. But when you have a secondary player or like someone to defer to, and okay, in his defense, he did defer a little bit when Paul George came in, like because there was a moment where Paul George even was even getting votes for the MVP race. So I mean, Russell Westbrook did at least attempt to defer, but then as soon as the playoffs came around, he kind of went back to his ways. So I don't know. Like, yes, he has superstar talent. He just has a lower level of IQ to match that talent. And that's just the unfortunate thing, the stubbornness and the lower IQ. Because he's an amazing passer. He does have decent vision, but I think he forces the issue because as you can see in a lot of his assist to turnover ratio, it's not very good because he just forces the issue.
Yeah.
Unlike natural passers like Steve Nash or Steph Curry, who knew like when to pass and just were crafty about it. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, granted, yes, Westbrook can be considered a very good passer, but he's not elite and he's not an elite playmaker because passing, there's more to playmaking than just passing. There's other things, off ball movement and all their other stuff that
Yeah.
you can look into.
Well, now that he's in Houston now, the only, I guess,
Wait,
superstar
who?
you will, Westbrook.
No, Westbrook is not in Houston. He got traded to the Wizards, remember?
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah,
So now
Oladipo
Houston.
is on Houston now.
Who? Sorry.
Because remember, the whole trade was Oladipo got sent from the Pacers to
Oh,
Houston. Karis LeVert got sent from the Nets to the Pacers. Um, I think shit. Who am I forgetting? There's some other players that got sent. I think it was Dante Exum and Jarrett Allen. No, Dante Exum got sent from the Cavaliers to the Rockets. Jarrett Allen got sent from the Nets, and so did oh my god, we spoke about this last time, but those two got sent
yeah.
to
Yeah.
the
I remember.
Cavaliers. Jarrett Allen is now on the Cavaliers, which is it kind of sucks that they had to let him go. I wish they would have kept him, but I
Right.
mean,
Well.
who else were they gonna to send? You know,
Well, let's hope Houston can keep it together without those guys now.
I mean, I think they're okay. They're a decent team, but if anything, they would be either two spots out of the playoffs or an eighth seed at best. At
Yeah.
worst, just completely out of the playoffs.
Well, now that Harden's in Brooklyn, we'll see how it pans out. Like I said, it's only 2 games. Let it time. Give him time to settle in and see how he works with Kyrie and Durant. So that's
Yeah,
all we can say. It's
I
too
think
soon.
yeah, I
It's too
think
soon.
they have a decent team about it. It's just making it work. And again, we have to understand and see. I know people are like, oh, it's championship or bust. Okay,
That would
well
be the
for the Heat,
whole. That would be for
it
every
was
team, man.
it wasn't championship or bust for the fucking Heat. Why don't we pump the brakes on that? If the Heat didn't win a championship in their first year, and like, why the fuck are we putting these super high expectations on the Nets?
We
I
always
just
put high.
and
That's
and
one
the,
thing
and the
that
thing
annoys
is,
me.
everybody's always going to say to some form or fashion it's not comparable, but it is. They're both a big three super team. They both have that. So to say that oh it's championship or bust, oh, okay, why wasn't it bust for the Heat? They came back and won two more the very next year. Who's to say that won't happen for the Nets? That they won't retool if for some reason they make the finals and lose? Who's to say they won't be able to retool next season and get that together? Who's to
Yeah,
say? So
yeah.
I don't know. I think people again they forget history and they don't understand.
Well, yeah. I mean, everyone puts that expectation on any team. The ultimate goal is to get to the finals and win it. So, but I mean, you got to give teams time to know how to gel and work together in making it work. That's why it's a team. Everyone's got to pitch in and make it work so that way they can get to that goal. So I mean, yeah, they do have to lay off with that. They give it some time. I would love to see the Nets in the playoffs and make it to the finals. That would be
I mean, they're definitely
wonderful.
making the playoffs. I mean, it's just a question of where they make the finals. Because granted, yes, you have the Bucks, you have the Sixers, you have the Celtics. Those are the only teams, in my opinion, that really. I mean, you could say the Heat, but the Heat have been struggling this season. But either way, those teams are the teams I see that stand a chance at like beating this team.
Mm.
Again, the Nets' main issue is depth and defense, but I think the pieces they have are not as bad as people make it seem. I think once they put it together, they'll be fine. Maybe again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's just what I think is going to happen. But
Yeah.
as far as um, that's concerned, I mean, as of recent years, people have been kind of now debating what are super teams versus not like just really good teams, and then superstars versus all stars and Hall of Famers. And tomorrow, I'm, I mean, I already wrote the scripts. I'm going to be working on a couple of videos. It's going to be a two-parter where I'm going to be doing, it's going to be called Superstars and Super Teams. And the first part is going to be about like the differences between like an all-star, superstar, and Hall of Famer. Just my basic opinion. Again, guys, this is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. You can think I'm dumb. You can think I'm a genius. I don't give a shit what you think at that point. I'm just wanting to give my opinion, and if it entertains you, then at least that's half the battle. You know, no me
Well,
importa si no te gustas.
it
Like
brings
if
another.
you don't like it, that's fine. You can voice that,
Hey
but
man,
just as long as you gave it a watch, that's
hey
all I
dude,
care.
it just brings another point of view to the debate. That's all. Don't worry about it. You know.
Yeah. And then as far as like that's concerned, like I don't know, there's a lot of people that are having a lot of revisionist history. This is the one thing I will say. There's a lot of revisionist history because there's people that are starting to say that the Bulls were a super team, and it's like mm, they were not a super team. They were a great team. They are obviously Hall of Fame team, but at the time, like you have Jordan as a superstar, Pippen as borderline superstar, all star caliber player. Dennis Rodman was not the same player he was in Detroit. So that set of Bulls teams was not a super team. Yeah, they won. They set the record for wins in a season. But see, the same could be said about the Warriors in 2016. They were an amazing team, but they were not a super team. And see, a lot of people think, oh, well, the Celtics in the 60s. Yeah, maybe later on down the line. But at the beginning, nobody thought like they were just an amazing team. Like, I just think when people say Hall of Famers, it's like, first of all, a Hall of Famer is someone who's had all these accolades, is retired, and is in the Hall of Fame. A. I mean, B and C, those are the main points. You're retired and in the Hall of Fame. But if you have Hall of Fame potential, I guess we can kind of monitor it like that. But I don't think you can say, oh, well, they were Hall of Famers. Not at that time. Not at that time. They were
They
just
yeah,
superstars or all stars.
they
They were
became Hall of
they
Famers
became
later.
Hall of Famers. Like
Yeah.
some people, and even Beasles, like I do respect his opinions. But I don't agree when he says, "Oh, well, KD, Kyrie, and Harden are Hall of Famers. They're already Hall of Famers." I mean,
Not
yes, I
yet.
think
Not
I think
until
I
they're
think
selected.
Kyrie and KD have a case, but not Harden yet. At least not yet. If he wins a championship, yeah.
I mean,
I mean, and again, you have people that are like, "Oh, well, the stats," and yes, there are Hall of Famers that didn't win championships that have amazing stats. And don't worry, I will highlight something of that nature in the video. I'm
well,
not going to go
yeah.
into too much more than that, but I'm just saying that I think people tend to not hold rings as high a regard as they used to, which I don't understand because that is the reason they play. They play to win championships. So I don't know, but
Yeah, well, we can. That debate will probably never die. Whether it's all about the hardware or is it about the stats? Both
what
go
about the
hand in hand,
money?
or the money. Well, I think all. I think hardware, championships, and stats go hand in hand. I think both are equally important, but I just feel I thought for all this time in the history of sports that the ultimate goal was to win championships.
Yeah.
saying that, hey, we are the best team in the world at that moment.
Hmm.
Um, uh, it's as far as like you said with super team, well, with all stars or future Hall of Famers, you become a Hall of Fame once you be. It all depends on. There's always people need to realize like there are classes for Hall of Fame players that are that they are reviewed by by a group of people that select them, saying, "Oh, he is worthy of being inducted into Hall of
Yeah.
Fame
First
or
ballot,
not."
second ballot. Yeah.
Yeah, they all go through screenings and selections, and they see what they've accomplished. So it's but for someone to say, "Oh, he was a Hall of Famer," it's like that's a bad choice of words. It's not grammatically correct. If they were still playing, they the correct term is say, "Oh, he's a future Hall of Famer." He will,
Potential or future. Yeah.
yeah, he has potential to be inducted into the Hall of Fame for where he stands right now. And yeah, that is correct. But to say they are Hall of Famers, I was like, no, they are Hall of Famers now. Then they weren't.
Yeah.
People need to be
And
careful
then
with the choice of
also,
words
but even
sometimes.
then, the Hall of Famer is so subjective because there are
Oh,
players that
really?
legitimately deserve to be in the Hall of Fame
And
that
are not.
aren't.
Yeah.
And vice versa. There are players that are in the Hall of Fame that probably shouldn't. But
Well, yeah. Well, going back to what you're saying about the Bulls that we grew up watching, they've they set the standard. I mean, I agree. I don't call them super. I wouldn't think of them as super teams from what I remember. They were great teams, but every player on that team had their shortcomings. But Jordan was that. He was the glue that kept them all together. And yes, you know, he was an asshole. Let's be honest. But
mhm,
he it was with good intention to push his fellow teammates to become better, to help them grow as players and be better than where they were. And that was why he did what he did. It was, I guess you can call it tough love. And for those of you that haven't seen The Last Dance, I highly recommend that you watch it. It
yeah,
is
most definitely.
unbelievable
Hmm.
seeing what Jordan and and those of his colleagues accomplished. Uh, those two three peats that they did. I mean, really, go watch it. You will not be disappointed.
Hmm. Yeah, and then as far as just again, this is a super team. This Nets team, it is a super team. Whether they fail or not does not take away from the fact that they are a super team. You have two fucking superstars in Kevin Durant and James Harden. And Kyrie, I'm sorry, I'm gonna put him as a superstar. Like
Well,
let's
he's shown it when he was with Cleveland and LeBron, and they were able to. I know they won one,
and
but they went to the.
even if he was a second option, he's still superstar talent. So like whether that's still super team to me. Because if fucking LeBron, D Wade, and Chris Bosh is a super team, this Nets team is a fucking super team. Like there's no doubt about it. And for others to say that that's not a super team or it's a fake super team, like no, it's a super team. Period.
Well, I mean, even I find that a little subjective because I feel that yes, you have superstars. You have three superstars on that team, which I guess you can consider big three now. Yeah, it's like Kyrie, Durant, and Harden. However, I mean, I feel even then, if it doesn't work out, would you then call it a super team? I just
Yes,
feel
it's
I
still a
feel it's
super
all.
team. Yes, it is because if the Heat lost in 2011 and they were a super team, why the fuck would it be different if the Nets lose in the finals? Why would it be any different?
Well, I mean, it's when you claim that or label them that, there's a lot of expectations, high expectations, sometimes maybe unrealistic expectations from some people.
But it's
And
still a
they
super
say
team.
when they, well, I'm just saying it's like if they see him fail, like what happened with the Heat in 2011 when the Mavs beat him, it's like, well, they weren't so super then,
But
but
they
they learned.
but
Yes,
they
they
won
came
two
back.
more championships
I
after
know they
that.
came. Yeah, they came back from it. I just think in the moment, I feel in the moment, no. They were not. But when they came back next year and won them, yes.
I
Um,
disagree. I
well, I
disagree.
just feel that we have to see what happens with Brooklyn, because, like I said, they still got a ways to go. The season's still young, but since you got Harden now in the mix, let's see how those three work out. I just feel in the moment they're
Okay,
not,
I see what you're
but
saying.
I
So
think
right now, on paper, they
right, maybe
technically are a super team. On paper, based on what I deem a super team, they are a super team. If they break up, then yeah, then maybe it's not so much
yeah.
of a super
I
team.
guess I guess it's a better way to analyze it. On paper, yes, they are a super team, but from what we've seen
But even
from what
then,
we've
dude,
seen from their
like
performance,
I know, but even then,
no, I'm
dude,
just saying
if
that's
the
probably an argument you're gonna hear. I'm just saying
no,
that
and I have heard that argument, but I'm saying once if they make the final, if the same situation happens in the finals for KD and that crew that happened to LeBron in 2011, it's still a super team because the media and most people at the time, doesn't matter what the outcome was, still deemed it a super team.
right. And would you say the same about
So
the
public
Celtics in
perception
2000?
does matter too. And
Right.
yes, I do think that the Celtics in 2008 on were a super team. Yes, they were.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
were they a little bit of a disappointing super team? Yeah, but they were still a super team nonetheless.
disappointing. Well, I mean, they were
Disappointing
just
because they could have
won the
they were
next year.
expected to have won more. Yes, they
Oh
made
well.
multiple appearances, but it was expected that they would win more than just the one. The thing that happened that derailed them was KG getting injured. And the thing that derailed the Heat from continuing on was D Wade getting injured, and then Chris Bosh. I mean, he did well, but he wasn't 100%. And then after LeBron left, Chris Bosh got blood clots and was out of the league. Poor guy. But
Yeah.
yeah, but see, either way, those are still super teams because of the personnel and the talent that is on that team.
Right. I was just based off of yeah, on paper, yes. It's just, but as far as execution, some don't work out.
Well, I'm
So
like the Lakers in the when they had Kobe, Nash, Howard, and Gasol. That on paper technically was a super team, but it didn't pan out because of injuries to Gasol, injuries to Nash, injuries to Howard, and then injuries to Kobe, and then Howard came back, but he wasn't 100%. So yeah, on paper it was, but it didn't end up being one because of what happened.
right now you're saying now on an individual basis, you were talking about as far as what defines an all-star and a superstar, because I think when there's like three levels in the NBA, like there's a star, all-star, and superstar, right? If I remember
Well,
correctly.
but for what how I'm gonna pose it is I'm gonna pose it as all-star, superstar, and Hall of Fame
Okay.
player.
All right.
Because I mean, stars very subjective.
Well, I mean, it's like as far as
Because I
like
mean, it on the lower end of all-star, I say star. That's the lower end of all-star. Because I
right,
think I'm gonna give a higher range of all-star and a lower range of all-star. Same thing with each tier. That's how I'm gonna position it. Again,
right.
I don't want to give too much, but that's how at least I'm gonna position it.
All right. Well, then how about for this season alone? Who do you consider
A
an all-star?
superstar and an all-star.
No. Well, who can like let's see. Raz right now in the 2020-21 season, who is like the best all-star
Well, no, no. I mean, all
in your
stars.
opinion?
Okay, well, as far as an all star,
Yeah.
Zach Levine is an all star. Devin Booker is borderline superstar. He's like still all star, but borderline superstar. Um, LeBron James and AD superstars. Jimmy Butler, lower end of superstar. Uh, a lot of people already claim Luka Doncic as a superstar. I think he's kind of in the middle. I mean, he's like, if he is a superstar, he's on the lower end of superstar
I think I
and
would
higher end of
mm,
all star.
I kind of since he's still young, he's
I
only been
mean,
in the league for a
granted,
couple years.
he is extremely talented, but I want to see more from him in the the playoffs, like a deep. I want to see a little bit of a deeper run in the playoffs before I can really claim that. You know what
Yeah,
I
well,
mean?
I believe right now for where he is, how young he is, and how short he's been in the league, I put him as as an all star. But he will become a superstar in the very near future. So
Yeah, I mean, and some people already claim him as a superstar, and look, there's a lot of things I do agree with within their arguments that he is a superstar, but personally, again, he's in his third year, and I really think if he doesn't perform up to expectations that they've all been setting for him, then I don't think that's very fair. So I think he's at all borderline all-star superstar, like just right in between. He's there.
yeah, by that.
I mean, and again, there's a lot of people that are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Um, but then as far as uh, Dame, in my opinion, is similar level, like borderline all-star superstar. Steph Curry, I mean, even though his team is not doing well this year, he's still a superstar. I mean, come on, the fucker put up 62 points in a game. Come on, he's a superstar. Um, but yeah, I mean, other like let's kind of look again at like lower end all stars. I mean,
Well, I was just gonna say, like, if you had to for just this season alone, like one of each, as far as like the
well, I mean,
best of
Zach
each tier,
Levine is definitely an all star. I mean, Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid are superstars.
Like, I mean, one, like the ultimate, like
Well,
the
no, I mean,
best. I'm just saying, no, no, I'm
I've
just,
already listed you the ones that would make sense within those categories.
I know, but if you had to choose one of each category, is what I mean,
Well, but it
like the best of each one.
obviously it would be LeBron as superstar,
Okay,
and for me, I guess because he's been doing so well as an all-star caliber player, Zach Levine.
okay,
That's 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 what I can say. There again, people are probably going to completely
and
disagree,
don't
but
worry.
that's how I see it.
Yeah, I know. That's fine. That's why I asked how you see it. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah. I mean, but there's multiple levels
No,
to
of
that.
course, there's multiple. I'm just saying, like, just if you had to choose, if you believe which ones were the best of each,
I
were the
mean,
best All Star,
it's quite
best one.
obvious it's LeBron, and then yeah, I mean even KD right now. We can say KD is on that level right now. He's been playing amazingly.
Good.
So then let's see. So yeah, as far as that's concerned, that's what I'm going to be working on filming tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to get out by tomorrow, but it's at least going to be filmed, and I'll try to edit it as best as possible. But yeah, that's all I have to say on the matter of the Nets and all that. Let's kind of look at the UTEP minors situations currently, the women's and men's team. So the UTEP's women's team won today, 61 to 58, against the 9-4 Louisiana Tech Lady Texters.
Nice.
So good for them. Let's kind of see a little bit more of their schedule. So they did lose against uh, North Texas once, but then beat them the second time. So yeah, they're doing pretty well for the most part. And as far as this game, let's see, does it give me the statistics on this women's basketball team today? It's really not showing me.
Best way you're gonna find that is going to ESPN. They'll
Yeah,
do the breakdown.
yeah. I mean, oh, and just to let you know, the UTEP men's team beat Louisiana Tech as well, and the Mavericks beat the Spurs 122 to 117.
Nice.
Just still didn't get that 10th rebound, but it's okay. He's still an amazing win. Good job by him. As far as the UTEP team, the within the first quarter, the Miners had 16. Then they kind of had another upper hand in the second quarter. Third quarter, 19. They kind of faltered near the end. They almost lost it, but still won overall. So good game by the Lady Miners. Now let's kind of double check as far as their actual statistics. Women's basketball. Let's see, hello, my teams, please. Sometimes it's hard to get to this right away. Okay, women's team. So as far as the statistics, Uh, Arike scored 3 points, 1 for 4 from the field, 3 assists. Roebuck, 4 points, 4 rebounds. Crows. I apologize if I mispronounced your name, miss. 17 points, 4 personal fouls, kind of in foul trouble, but still pretty decent for the most part. 2 assists, 6 rebounds, 2 for 3 from 3-point range. In hometown hero, Katia Gallegos, 7 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. Didn't have the best game, but still, I mean, she's had great games and it's been back and forth, but I think she'll shake that off. And they still won. That's what matters. And then Lopez had 13 points, 2 of 8 from 3-point range, 5 of 12 overall, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. And Pruitt, okay, this lady, oh my goodness, 12 rebounds. She must be really tall. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't give me the heights and all that. So she scored 8 points and with 12 rebounds. So wow, good for her. Really, really good work on the boards. She must be really damn tall. And even if she's not, that's still very impressive. So that's a good win by the Miners. And then right now the men's team, as I stated, they did win. They won 82-74, and they're gonna play them
But
again tomorrow.
yeah,
Um,
well, they better keep it up. I mean, uh, they still got a ways to go. I mean,
damn, the UTEP Miners scored 50 in the first half, and then 32 in the
woo,
second. Damn,
very
that's
good,
that's
very
pretty
good.
damn good. As far as the statistics, let's see. For what I can tell, the box score. Oh, my man, Bryson Williams, man. Bryson Williams with 28 points, 2 of 5 from 3-point range, 4 rebounds. And then Kennedy had 13 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 of 4 from 3-point range. Uh, Bienmi didn't have that good of a game, but again, he still did well on the glass with 7 rebounds and had 6 assists. And then Bohm had 24 points and 12 rebounds. So yeah, overall a really good solid game by the UTEP Miners. So did I say Mavs on accident? Sorry, the
No,
UTEP
I don't.
Miners.
No, you're good. Yes, I mean, I'm really proud of both the women's and men's team. Men's team, still got a lot to work on.
But they have a lot of
They
potential, man. And I
they do,
think
they do.
if there's any again, if there's any guys who follow college basketball out there, please take a look into Bryson Williams, man. That guy is really putting in work. And I know a lot of times nowadays people don't really give much thought to the minors. But that guy, I think he could actually be decent in the NBA if they actually gave him a chance.
No,
Because I
I agree
saw
with
him
you.
play, and I've always mentioned this game against UTSA. He was fucking shooting these faders that were crisp, man. He had such good footwork. I really think he could thrive well in the NBA. That's my opinion.
Well, I agree. I mean, I see a lot of potential in the men's team. It's coming along, but they still got some work to do. I mean, it's mostly work on the road. They seem to be struggling to get wins on the road right now. They're only 2-5 on the road, but when it comes to home, they defend. They're 5-1 at home, so they need to really continue to dominate at home, but they got to work on dominating on the road too, because those are really important. So I'm glad that kudos to them for beating Louisiana Tech since they're at the top of the conference at the moment. They're doing really well. So yeah, like I said, still a long ways to go.
But yeah, man, I really miss watching UTEP minors games, man. And I probably should be able to do that now that I have ESPN Plus. I can
Yeah,
actually catch some games with that. I need to start
yeah,
doing that.
yeah. I was
It's
looking
just
at
it's just sometimes like with life I get carried away with doing other things that I forget to sit down and watch some of these. But
well, yeah, I need to look into that too because I saw like for the year there's an annual subscription of like $50 for the year. I'm like, that looks pretty good, so I may consider it. So yeah, there's a bunch of annual subscriptions for other things that I'm looking into to buy so that way I can because it's like for the year that's a great price. So I'll see about it.
and speaking of things to like look at and subscribe to, there is this application that I've recently stumbled upon. It is called Locker Room. It's pretty much this audio chat application where people pretty much talk sports. It's mainly sports focused, but they're starting to kind of get to a point where they could talk about other things besides sports. But yeah, a lot of the chats are mainly sports related. And I am really considering utilizing it for when we have like question and answer sessions, or even if I just want to chill and talk with random people about my sports knowledge. Granted, I will say it is a bit intimidating because, again, a lot of like seemingly bigger sports like YouTubers and people are on there, and I just always feel so intimidated being on there. But in all honesty, the people have been very gracious, at least letting me be a part of it and letting me speak with them. The one recent room I was in was for the Keep It a Buck podcast. I don't know if they were actually recording the podcast along with that group chat, but it was very fun. It was
Mm.
still we just shot the shit, talked about sports, and I'll say like there was one argument we had about Trey Young versus Steve Nash. And yeah, this guy watched all of the Nash games, and yet look, I'm a huge Steve Nash fan. I love Steve Nash. I have his fucking deal on my wall, signed shit on my wall. I love Steve Nash. I really was sad when he left the Mavs, but the game has changed. And yes, Steve Nash was a very efficient 3-point shooter. He didn't take as much because, again, yes, the game was different. But there was one individual that I had a slight argument with saying that Trey Young would be better utilized as a sixth man, which I understand he's a little undersized and his defense isn't that great. But I don't agree because he is an amazing 3-point shooter. He's an amazing distributor of the ball. And yeah, there's things he needs to work on, but he has been playing really well. Because I think there was something that Steve Nash said about Trey Young's game that kind of was a little bit critical, and it rubbed Trey Young the wrong way, and he kind of struggled in a couple of games. Maybe it could have been because of that. It could have been because of something else. But nonetheless, Trey Young, these past couple of games, he put up 38 points and then 40 points. His argument was that, oh, well, you can't win a championship with a player of that caliber. He'd be better utilized as a sixth man, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, granted, Steve Nash was a better distributor, but I will argue that Trey Young is a better shooter than Steve Nash. And again, I love Steve Nash, and I don't take anything away from him. But Trey Young has been he is just a better shooter. He's been compared to Steph Curry, sometimes a little bit unfairly, but that is still the comparison. And he has been playing very well. So I don't agree with the fact that he would ever be a sixth man on a championship team. Maybe he's not a first option, but even then, I still disagree with that notion. Because if Steph Curry, who, granted, yeah, he's taller than Trey Young, but for him, he's still undersized comparably to most guards. So I don't know. That has been the whole thing with Steph Curry. He's very undersized, but he took the league by storm with his shot. Granted, is Trey Young going to be at the same level as Steph Curry? I don't know. And look, Steph Curry is not the best defender, and he may be slightly better than Trey Young on the defensive end, but that does not mean it's impossible for a player of his caliber to win a championship if he has the right pieces around him. But see, that's why you build around that player. That's why they built around Steph. It's that same mindset. You build around that player. And and again, I respect this gentleman. And I would definitely love to like have more conversations with him. I totally forgot his name. I think his name was Jesse, but I don't agree with that. So I mean, it's stuff like that. I mean, granted, there are things I learned, and there are things he learned. But the thing is, what's important is that you talk honestly and you agree to disagree on the application. And that's the good thing about it. It seems like a very positive vibe for the most part. Sometimes there's a little bit of shit talk, but nothing horrible.
Mm.
It's respectful for the most part.
Civil
Um,
discord, man. That's a very healthy thing to have.
mhm.
Uh, we're not always going to agree on everything. That's why debate is good.
Yeah, and then there's this other gentleman named Dustin who is a huge OKC fan. He's really cool. Like, I mean, I really respect a lot of what he does, and for the most part, I really respect his opinions on OKC. But I think we kind of had a slight argument. I mean, he kind of like made a decent argument that kind of made me lean a little more towards his side in the end. It's like about Billy Donovan as a coach. Billy Donovan, in my opinion, I think he's middle tier. I don't think he's super great, but I don't think I, I don't know. It's like, I shouldn't really say mediocre, but he's not great. He is better than most would think, but he's not great. I don't know how else to explain it. Granted, yes, he did a lot with OKC, but there are a lot of things he just doesn't adjust well with. I mean, granted, he may have been a bit better once they were rid of Westbrook. But see, I don't know. And yeah, there are some coaches that can handle players with a bigger ego, and there's some that can't. And maybe it's a little unfair to rate Billy Donovan in that regard, but at the same time, I mean, if you're going to be a great coach, sometimes you have to get on those players. And yeah, maybe it was hard trying to get through to Russell Westbrook because he is a very stubborn person. He is a big ego. But in the end, you still have to find some way to gain some common ground with this player to make him more successful and to make your team more successful. So that is a failure to an extent on Billy Donovan's part. But I'm not going to sit here and give Billy Donovan full blame because, yeah, Russell Westbrook takes a lot of blame in his own regard because he's very low IQ and he just forces too many things. But again, I don't dislike Russell Westbrook. I really hope he can find himself and find some success somewhere, even if it doesn't end up being with the Wizards. But I liked how he explained his arguments. And yeah, like, again, the application is called Locker Room. And the gentleman who created Locker Room, he actually spoke on the Keep It a Buck podcast with all of them. His name is Howard, but let me get his full name just so you all can know who he is. He's the creator. His name is Howard Akumaya. Hopefully I pronounced that right, Howard. I apologize if I did. And he did kind of have a small chat room where a bunch of different people kind of spoke. And he's a very intelligent individual, very well versed in application management as well as application development. So if you're ever looking for information on how to get into that field, like just a developer of that nature, try to talk with him. Go subscribe onto, or like, get Locker Room. It's not on Android yet, but he said that it's in the works. Get onto there and just talk with him. He seems like a very nice individual, very down to earth. So, and it was very nice chatting with him. And I really do suggest looking into Locker Room because it seems like a very fun atmosphere. Even if you don't agree on everything, you at least you at least make a civil enough conversation. And the way it runs is very smooth for the most part, at least to me. I think it's a little bit less clunky than Discord, but again, that's for you to decide. But I really highly suggest it. And I'm trying to get este way onto fucking Twitter and this application because I think it would benefit him. Yes, I know the world of Twitter can be a bit of a cesspool sometimes, but on the times that are positive, it's really fun and you really meet some cool and interesting people. And I really think you should get on that, bro, because it would help you network a lot. I really think it would. But yeah, as far as that's concerned, that's what I had to say about this application. I spoke with people like Dom2K and no, not Dom2K. See, and now he's probably gonna get mad if he sees this because everyone likes to compare him to Dom2K, and that was totally. I did not mean to do that. It just for some odd reason came to my head. His name is Domo Churchill. Is his last name. He is a really cool guy, really funny, really outspoken. Please follow him on Twitter and follow him on Locker Room because that guy is a riot. He has really big opinions. And, as their podcast is, they always like to keep it a buck, you know? So, yeah, I think it's a really fun application and I really think you all would enjoy it. And hopefully one day I can utilize it to where we can do question and answer sessions or even just shoot the shit, you know? I like to talk about sports, and maybe later on I could do some rooms where even Mario and I could talk about stuff like music, because we're musicians mainly. Talk about music, and then we could talk about even anime, just whatever the case may be, whatever floats your all's boat. Um, but yeah, that's really all I had to say about this. Is there anything you had to add to that, Mario?
No, no, it's just things are about to get a little busy again since school's starting up for me. So most of my time is going to be going into focusing on this last semester that I have to finish. So my apologies if I'm not able to get my videos out in a weekly basis because um, hitting the ground running with this last semester. So I'm going to be pretty much preoccupied with that. But I will try to do my best to get videos out when I can. But it probably won't be steady until May after graduation. So my apologies in advance, but I'll do my best to put content out there.
Yeah, man, just do what you can. Pero en serio, güey. Consigue un pinche Twitter, güey. En
Uh,
serio, güey.
I'll think about it.
No, I really think you should. But anyhow, that's really all we had to talk about today. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. And once again, I'm going to be creating some videos tomorrow. Hopefully I get them out soon. Again, these are just my opinions. And again, just follow me on Twitter. Síguenos en Twitter y también en YouTube y Apple Podcast y todo, la madre. And also, yeah, just follow me on Locker Room. Go once in a while to chat up if I make a room, or like if I just make a random room, or if I use it for the question and answer sessions for the podcast. I'm gonna figure out how to do it. Like I might test it first, but otherwise, yeah, just be looking out for that in the future. Anyway, hasta luego, mi gente. Suscríbete a mi canal y hasta la próxima, mi gente. Adiós, adiós,
Adios.
paz. Go Miners.